Hey guys, how y'all doing? Well, I'm back on the Parker, and actually, since my last segment where I left off on this Parker, I've been on it almost every day. And there's hours and hours in it already, guys. And as you can see, the clover leaf is gone. I had a guy stop over here. He said that the clover leaf helps. And him and my friend had kind of a little debate about it. And they're both right. One guy says that the clover leaf on the Dominators, they were testing it and it helped. Well, you can't tell somebody something doesn't work for them. That's what I always say. But my theory on that is that on a Dominator, plenum would be so big that the clover leaf would actually cut down on some of that if the motor's not calling for all that extra volume in the plenum. That's the only thing I could think about that. Why some guys would run okay with it. Depends on how the engine calls for air and fuel, really what it comes down to, how much compression. One guy might be 9-to-1. The other guy might be 13 or 14-to-1. So who's wrong or right on that one, fellas? You know, it's all about combinations, and they could both be right. And if it works for them, it works for them. I'm not going to argue with somebody when they tell me, hey, I had a Parker on something, and if the car runs where it should, there's nothing wrong with it. And getting back to what I said before, it's just an intake. If it doesn't work out, you change it. It's one of the easiest things to do. So I wanted to show you guys how good I can get in there with this phone. But up here in the top of the plenum, this is what I was going after, fellas. It was so small, and I cut it way down. And also, let me grab a pointer. My finger's getting away from the camera, guys. You can't really tell. The camera at the phone, I can't really get in there too good with, fellas, but it's cut way back. I angled this back severely. And I cut a lot out over here. I'm blending it all back into here. Just a piece of emery cloth I have in here. And I'm going to show you why, guys. If I had my choice and my way with this intake, guys, it wouldn't be pretty, because I'd be cutting the runners right off this thing. They just get too overwhelmed down in here where you're trying to make these turns. There's just too much pitch on them. That's almost any Ford. That's the bad thing about a Ford vehicle with this type of runner. And unfortunately, most of them have this type, whether it's even a big block or a small block. The runner layout is kind of similar. Not exact, but... And another thing I wanted to address, guys, is that if you're looking down in here, you'll say, well, he talks against all this stuff, and there he goes. The knife edge. Guys, that's only because I've cut so much back. I'm going to actually round this back where it's rounded on the ends. It's still going to be thin. And the more I cut this back, the more I cut these all back, the less torque I'm going to have. I know all that, guys. This engine, like I said, is going to be pretty well wound up when I'm done with it. But guys, I'm trying to show you what I'm doing here with one hand. This takes two hands. But what I have here, I have the emery cloth running through the runner. And what I'm after, guys, is to get down in here. This is what I'm doing. I'm working it back and forth. I got the phone in my hand, so I can't show you, fellas, but I'm trying to demonstrate. You just work it back and forth. And if you ever do this, you always want to make sure when you're pulling on one end to the other that you're not oblonging your port. But what I'm after, guys, is this. It's so hard to get in here with this phone. I need to get a camera for you guys so I can get down in there. I'm actually staying along the edge right here on the wall. And I'm leveling the wall back right here. I hope that you can see it all. I tried to look for a light. I couldn't even find a little light to put down in there, guys, so I hope you can tell what I'm talking about. But I'm trying to do two steps at one time. I'm trying to level wall right here and take the radius off. That's what takes much time, fellas. I mean, I could just go in here and clean it up some. And once I get all this the way I want, I really want to do, and whether I'll get to this or not, I really hate the pitch of the floor. I did beat it up to keep the fuel laying there a little bit longer because it has tendency to run off really fast. That's how it's designed, of course. But this had a really rough casting floor. So I didn't like that. The fuel can't even stay there for a second. And this is going to be hard enough for this engine, as far as I'm concerned, to kind of meter the fuel for each runner. That's what this intake had a problem with in the first place. And I'm going to actually try to make a floor for this. I'm either going to try to flatten this out or I'm going to make a floor for it. That's my plan. That's why it's not no overnight job, fellas. That's why I wanted to jump on it and at least get some of it knocked out and get a good baseline on it. So when it comes time for the other engine, I'm not having this hang over my head. At least not the whole thing. I mean, you know, when I get done now, will be less I have to do later, but I'm planning on just trying to finish this. Will I? Well, that's my intentions. But I surely wouldn't want to bet any money on it because it seems like every time I start something, it gets left off for at least a while. And will this Parker help it out? This Parker might be actually the worst problem I have on the motor when I get it all together, guys, and I know that. So for some of you smart fellas out there saying he's actually hurting that, guys on that level right there, I gotta say, you're exactly right, and I know that. Why am I doing it? Well, I'm going with a plan, but the main reason is this. I don't know if you guys can tell. I've already got a better shot through. It's about getting the runner straight, guys. It's not about hogging it out. So if anybody's watching this video thinking bigger is better, that's not what's going on here. Not at all. As a matter of fact, if this intake doesn't work out the way I want it to, once I get it on the car, or the engine, rather, I may even do this beforehand. I might bring these back further yet, this way, towards the plenum. There's other things I can do to adjust what I'm doing here. And I don't know if you guys noticed, I did cut this back here to give it more of a tendency to go back. But what I did notice when I was cutting it back, I cut this one back how I wanted, and then what I noticed after I did that, this one here had more meat on it and it goes down even further. But when I blew air through it, it seemed like the one that had a little bit more meat on it actually had a faster airspeed. But I didn't like it because it still had tendency to go down and up. I want straight, fellas. I'm after a straight run of air. I can't worry about every time I do something I'm losing a little bit of flow or if it's picking up flow. I'm just trying to make the air go straight right now. I'll worry about adjusting things later on. So that's where I get myself in trouble. I start over weighing things out while I'm doing it. And I think you guys have witnessed that already with the heads I started, and I got kind of worried on instead of just doing my own thing. That's because I don't want to make mistakes. I want to do things right for you guys more than myself. It'd be nice if I could show you something that works out, and instead of being where it's a letdown after you see it run or being on something. But at least we'll know. We'll all know together. Anybody following me? That's why I'm going through all this, trying to at least put some of this out there on YouTube for you guys. But that's it where we're at, fellas. There's a lot I'd like to talk to you about, but now's not the time. I have some other things we're going to be getting to, and I'm hoping I can have a couple nice surprises for you guys. And my 460 buddies, hang in there. It's coming. So I'm going to have a few things lined up for that. I've been talking to a few people, trying to get a couple more things lined up. And when I do a segment, guys, I want it to be worth doing. I don't want it to be where I'm just rambling and not accomplishing anything with you guys, because that's not going to do you a bit of good. I'm not here to entertain. I'm here to help you guys out and maybe say, hey, I had a Parker, it didn't work. Now I did that to it and it did work. And, we talk about compression. And that's one of the big deals with these Parkers. You have to have the motor for them, guys. The motor has to be there for something like this here. And I plan on doing that. I plan on the compression coming up. This isn't going to be the E7 engine. This is going to be accommodated for what it needs, hopefully. I'm trying to get the compression up in it, but still do it on the budget side and still use as many as stock parts as I can. And that comes down to where I have to mill the heads extreme. And if I have to mill this extreme, so be it. That's how I look at it, guys, with this build that's coming up. So that's just give you a little bit of a inside thinking that I have going on. So that's where we're at with that. Well, listen, guys, once more, I appreciate you stopping to check out what I'm doing. And everybody, have a good night. Take care.